It's hard to believe we're almost midway through November, and now is the time of the year that in my clinic I start seeing a lot of people with really dry, cracked hands. So today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about how to prevent and treat it if it happens to you over the course of the winter. Let's get to it. Alright guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking a lot about dry hands, dry, cracked hands, and how to treat it, how to prevent it, and a few little tips and nuances and some of my favorite recommended products. If you remember the video that I did on eczema just a week ago, you're going to remember that irritant contact dermatitis is one of the types of dermatitis that I talked about. Irritant contact dermatitis can happen to anyone when they're exposed to a substance enough. And that could be things like water, and really hand washing is one of the biggest players in that. Things like gasoline might be another one. Just to provide an extreme example, it's going to cause irritation on anybody who has frequent enough exposure to it. On the contrary, things like nickel or certain types of contact allergens may not affect everybody, and that's an allergic contact dermatitis. When we're talking about hand dermatitis or hand eczema or dry skin on the hands, we're usually more in that camp of an irritant contact dermatitis. Something dries out the skin on the hands and it becomes a chronic problem over the course of the winter for many people, especially in the northern states. One of the biggest problems is hand washing that contribute to this, and as we're still not completely out of the pandemic, then we're going to continue to have a lot of hand washing, and the chronic washing of the hands and exposure to water will continue to lead to hand dermatitis, especially if you work in a healthcare field or a food preparation field or something like that, or just really anything else where you're required to wash your hands quite a bit. Education, teaching, elementary school, things like that. So water in and of itself, when you continually expose your skin to water, it actually will end up drying out your skin. And then if you're washing and using soaps, something that is a detergent in and of itself, that will strip the natural oils from your skin. Those oils are important to form your skin moisture barrier, or as we call it in dermatology, the acid mantle layer of the skin. So when you remove those natural oils, it becomes much easier for your skin to dry out. And that's the first thing that happens is you lose your natural oils, that barrier breaks down, and you actually start to lose more water through the skin. That's one of the main functions of our skin, is to keep water, keep the good things inside the body, and when water starts to escape, we get more and more dry, flaky, and then itchy or painful because those little tiny free nerve endings are exposed to the air, and that's very irritating, and it'll be painful or itchy. So one of the first things that I want you to do is, if you're suffering from dry hands, is try not to wash your hands so much. I know that might sound like a bad idea, but there's alternatives to washing your hand, like using hand sanitizers, and I'll clarify that a little bit. Again, washing your hands, especially with soap, is going to remove the natural oils from your skin, and there will be times when that's your only option. If your hands are visibly dirty, or you're working in healthcare and you're changing a patient or working around bodily fluids, you really have to wash with soap and water. You've got to get that stuff off of your skin. However, if you're just going through the normal course of your day and you can do hand sanitizer more frequently, in the long run, that's actually going to be better for your skin. Now, if you have cracks in your skin, it's probably going to sting because most hand sanitizers are alcohol-based, and that will sting. But if you can find a hydrating hand sanitizer, in the clinic we use one that has aloe vera. Avogard is another one that's almost like a lotion hand sanitizer, and these can actually help to hydrate the skin in and of themselves. And if you don't have cracks, it's not going to sting, but the hand sanitizers are not going to remove the natural oils from your skin. So the first tip is that when possible, use a hand sanitizer over hand washing if it's practical. The second tip is that after washing your hands, it's important to hydrate or moisturize them. Especially while your skin is still damp, if you can apply a moisturizer when you have a little bit of moisture on your skin, most hand creams are formulated with ingredients that would be considered a humectant. A humectant is something that can help to bind onto water and hold it on the skin. Basically, it forms a barrier and helps to prevent water loss through your skin. So moisturize immediately after hand washing whenever it's practical to do so. In addition to moisturizing after you wash your hands, make sure that you're moisturizing when you get up in the morning and before you go to bed at night. One of the most important ways that you can help to repair your skin barrier is to really coat your hands in an occlusive cream or ointment before you go to bed and then put on gloves. These don't have to be nitrile or latex gloves that don't allow your hands to breathe. That'll actually probably cause more problems if you do it that way. What I recommend are white cotton gloves if you can get them at a pharmacy. The other thing that works really well and is probably less expensive are just brown jersey gloves, which you can get at almost any hardware store or grocery store. Those are the brown, really cheap gardening gloves. They're cloth, they're fabric, and they will help to make it that you're not going to smear your lotion or your ointment all over everything else, but they help to hold it on your hands. They provide enough breathability that your hands aren't going to get waterlogged, and sleeping with those gloves is going to be a little bit more comfortable than sleeping with nitrile or latex gloves. This is where it can come in handy to use something as inexpensive as plain Vaseline. That's white petrolatum, and you could also use Aquaphor or CeraVe healing ointment if you prefer one of those. But using it at nighttime, coating the hands in a liberal amount, and then putting on those gloves can really do wonders to help repair and heal the cracks that can form in your hands. And those ointments are unlikely to be irritating or sting if you put them on dry, cracked hands. When it comes to a daily hand cream, there's a few that I really like using personally and that I recommend frequently to patients. The first one is Cicaplast Balm for Hands. This is from La Roche-Posay, and it's got some key ingredients that I think are really helpful. The first is the La Roche-Posay Thermal Spring Water. That's a key ingredient in all of their products, and really what that does is it's a high mineral content water that is in each of the formulations, and it's been shown in multiple clinical studies to increase the microbial diversity on the skin, and that means you're going to have more of the good types of bacteria on your skin, and it's also been shown to help decrease pathogenic bacteria or bacteria that can cause infections if you get those cracks in your hands. So I really do like the La Roche-Posay Thermal Spring Water as an ingredient. In addition to that, because it's going to be like a prebiotic for the bacteria on your skin, it's also got hydrating ingredients like glycerin and shea butter, as well as niacinamide, vitamin B3, which is anti-inflammatory. The shea butter, along with dimethicone, really help to repair that moisture barrier, to form a barrier against water loss, and the glycerin is one of the best forms of a humectant that you can put in a hand cream because it really helps to bind and hold water on the surface of the skin. I like this. It's not a huge bottle, which makes it easy to carry around with you if you're keeping it in a purse or in a backpack, and you can use this multiple times a day. In fact, I recommend that you do. A second cream that I'm really a big fan of is Neutrogena Norwegian Formula Hand Cream. Neutrogena Norwegian Formula is formulated with 40% glycerin. We've already established that that is a really good humectant to use in a hand cream. The first time I used this, I didn't think that I was going to like it. Of course, this is just a sample size because I can't keep this stuff in the office when we get it. It's the thing that my staff fights over, probably more than any other hand cream that we get in. When you first put it on, it looks very thick, almost like Vaseline. And if you keep rubbing it in, it actually rubs in really smooth and feels great on the hands. So this is one that I highly recommend. Most dermatology offices will actually get samples of this in, so I give it out to a lot of patients over the course of the winter, and it really is a great hand cream for all day use because it's not going to feel sticky or greasy on the hands. Or you can really coat your hands with it at night, and then it's going to help repair that barrier as you sleep. So I'm just going to rub it in here, and you can see that as you start, it's really thick. But again, if you keep going with it, it's all going to fade away. It just takes a minute, so you do have to be patient with it, but I love this stuff. I go out to the store and I get so much stuff for free, but this is one that I will buy pretty much every winter. You keep rubbing it in and it's going to feel smooth on the hands. It's not going to prohibit you from doing any activities or job. If you're working in healthcare, if you're working in the serving industry, whatever it is, you rub it in, it feels great. It'd be great to put on overnight as well. So in basically less than a minute, completely rubbed in, the white is gone, not sticky in any way. The third cream that I recommend often to patients, and this is one that I recommend really strongly to bartenders, to food service workers, and to healthcare professionals who really cannot get away from washing their hands frequently, is called Gloves in a Bottle. Gloves in a Bottle has a great name because it's supposed to do what it sounds like. Basically, you're putting on a lotion that's supposed to coat your hands, coat your skin like a glove, and the idea is that the way that it's formulated that it will help to get into your skin barrier and stay on there even through multiple hand washings. And to everybody that I've recommended this to, I've had nothing but positive feedback about it. Of the three, this has a lot more hydrating ingredients, and I think it really is formulated differently. It does have some similar ingredients like cetearyl alcohol, dimethicone, and glycerin, which we've already established are important ingredients to help hydrate and repair the skin moisture barrier. There's a few other ingredients that serve some key functions in here that you don't really find in the other ones that we've talked about. Isopropyl myristate is essentially a lubricant that's found in a lot of personal care products, things like shaving gels, which leave the skin feeling really soft and smooth. Another ingredient that serves a key function here is hypromellose, and this was developed to be a semi-synthetic addition to your tear film. So it's used in some ocular surgeries to help protect the cornea, to protect the eye by binding water and expanding the tear film so that the eyes remain protected during ocular surgery. Including it into the hand lotion helps to bind water as well and really helps to protect the skin barrier by holding that water on top. Any of the hand creams that I've talked about could be used multiple times a day and used at nighttime. I do think that if you're really working in an environment where your hands are going to get wet all the time, I like gloves in a bottle a lot because it does help the water to run off of the skin and it stays on, I think, a little bit better through multiple hand washings than some of the other hand creams you find on the market. So as we go further and further into the winter months, make sure to follow these tips that I've shared with you today to help protect your hands so they don't get dry, cracked, and bleeding. If you can be proactive and prevent it from happening, it'll be a lot easier than trying to correct it once it does happen. Be especially cognizant of how many times you wash your hands a day and try to replace it with hand sanitizer when possible. I do highly recommend moisturizing the skin very generously before you go to bed, and if you need it, wear cotton gloves to bed to help to hold that moisture on there and provide just a little bit more of an occlusive environment. I hope you found these tips helpful. Let me know what kind of hand creams you guys use, what works for you, and any other questions or comments you might have, and share this video with somebody who works in the food service or healthcare industry who might deal with cracked hands, and maybe it'll help them over the course of the winter. I look forward to seeing you guys back next time, and if you didn't know, you can actually text me questions. I have a text. I'm going to leave that in the video description below. I try to respond to every single one. Sometimes it takes me a few days, but leave comments here below and even text me your questions or video suggestion ideas, and I look forward to seeing you next time.